I just found out my husband has been two-timing me. That's right, behind my back this whole time, and guess what? It's with his ex-wife, the one that he divorced because he told me that she's an absolute psychopath. Well, there's one thing I'm gonna wait to share with you, but it has to do with my mother-in-law, or should I say ex-mother-in-law, and guess what? She's mad. Hey guys, my name's Claire, my husband's Nick, and we've been married for 2 years now. We met 6 years ago at a small gathering at a mutual friend's house and hit it off right away. He had recently gotten divorced from his wife Stephanie, whom he had been with since high school. I enjoyed our conversation so much that we parted ways without even exchanging numbers, though. I called our mutual friend to get it. Nick appreciated that I took initiation, and we went on our first date. During our conversations in the first few weeks of dating, he confided in me how much he regretted marrying Stephanie at such a young age, saying he should have waited. He was very charming in the relationship and also very attentive to my needs. It did not take long for either of us to fall for each other, yet he was reluctant, not wanting to rush into anything like he did with his ex-wife. I understood his reluctance, but when we had been dating for more than 2 years, I asked him if he would like to move in together. He did not hesitate, and just the fact that I brought it up cleared it all up of his hesitance. Living together was hard at times, but it clarified that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together like this. So, only a few months into our living together, he asked me to marry him. I was so giddy. I liked that Nick had taken the most important step of both our lives himself without my prompting. We both had stable jobs, so money wasn't really an issue, but we still opted for an intimate ceremony. The wedding was a beautiful affair, and we picked everything out together. Planning a wedding is stressful, and knowing that we worked well in such a stressful situation only solidified our relationship in my head. There was no drama at our wedding. His ex-wife had not been in the picture for a long time, and all the family from his side seemed to adore me, especially his mother, Helena. Helena is the sort of person whose happiness is contagious, and every second spent in her presence seems to shimmer. Yet she's as stern to the point. She's quick with the kind word, but she's even quicker to lend a hand when you need it. I have a good relationship with my mother, yet I am more in contact with Helena to this day. We've simply grown closer over time. Nick sometimes jokes that I may have married him for Helena, which might be a tiny bit true. Helena is an amazing person. The kind you would want by your side in any situation. Our marriage was perfect, or at least as close to perfect as it can be. We rarely fought, and we had things that we liked each other separately, so that we didn't impede on each other's personal space often, while also having things in common so that we did not stray away from each other for too long each day. It was a perfect marriage combo until today, when I made a shocking discovery. It started out like any other Sunday. I was not the suspicious type, and neither was Nick, so the fact that I ended up in his office to clean while he was working in the garage was so coincidental. It was usually Nick who cleaned up his office, and I cleaned mine. I found a pile of our financial statements strewn about in a pile just behind his desk. He was the one who took care of our finances, and I got to sorting it up when something caught my eye. I noticed a pattern and some withdrawals from our joint account. The most shocking thing of all was that the money was being transferred to his ex-wife, Stephanie. With my heart in my mouth, I traced this pattern back 7 months. These transfers were frequent and quite substantial each time. I felt suspicious for a second. Why hadn't he told me about it? And yet my first instinct was to dismiss it as a misunderstanding. Maybe it was someone else with the same name? But the amount of money transferred made the doubt fester. I needed to make sure that this was actually Stephanie, his ex-wife, and not somebody else with the name Stephanie. I got to sleuthing on his computer. His email was logged in, and it was not difficult to find the series of emails exchanged between Stephanie and Nick, and by the looks of it, the messages suggested clandestine meetings behind my back. These emails were exchanged a long time ago. It appeared that they had later moved on to text messages, or maybe they stopped, but the bank statements proved that the theory wrong. The emails did not explain much, they just proved that they have been meeting in secret for 7 months. For sure. The weight of the evidence was overwhelming, and I could not contain my emotions any longer. I went downstairs to confront my husband, hoping against hope that there was an actual shed of explanation for all this. I might have been angry and emotional, but I had a plan by the time I got to the garage. I asked Nick if he had a moment to spare, and he smiled at me. Looking at him, you would have thought that he had never done anything wrong. Well, the need to keep him close to me, to keep him mine, was wearing with the need to find the truth. I didn't waste any time and simply asked him if he had been in contact with his ex-wife. His expression shuddered and he tried to regain composure, and in turn he asked me why I would ever wonder that. The way he turned it on me surprised me. I told him that I found the emails on his computer. He accused me of snooping on his computer, and I told him, well, that I wasn't unfounded in it. He had clearly been in contact with her, right? He sighed and told me that Stephanie's mother had been diagnosed with cancer and she had started emailing him. He had met a few times only for emotional support 7 months ago. He was lying to my face. And the more he lied, the worse I felt. He reassured me that he was not cheating on me. He would never. Not realizing that I knew more than I let on, I did not want to reveal that I found the bank statements. A part of me wished to keep him to myself. I asked him how could I trust him when he was just so ready to lie to my face. He tried to reassure me that he did not want me to be scared of something happening between them. He rubbed my back in a soothing motion and swore that he only lied because he didn't want me to be hurt. I asked him if he had been in contact with Stephanie lately. He promised that they have not, and I don't know if I believed him when he says that he wasn't cheating on me, but I also knew that they were meeting behind my back to this day, and I wanted to stick to the perfect marriage. I had thought that we had, and pretended to believe him anyways. I needed time to come to terms with it. I need to find concrete proof if they're still meeting behind my back. I needed to see how far his lies are going. I also needed to decide where I draw a line between his lies. It's clear he's been lying to me about the bank statements, but maybe he stopped meeting her for the past few months, and maybe he really isn't cheating on me, and he's innocent. Either way, I slipped into his office tonight when he wasn't paying attention and stowed the bank statements away safely as proof. When I went back to get screenshots of the email exchange between them, they had already been deleted from his computer. They did not reassure me in the least. I know that his phone's password. Neither of us have ever felt like keeping it from one another. Maybe I should check his text if I get the opportunity. I don't know, guys. Am I being paranoid? I've always been very trusting of Nick. He's a good guy. But the way he lied to me isn't like the Nick I know. I'm planning on investigating further, yet a part of me feels like I'm overreacting. Maybe he doesn't have a double life behind my back, like my brain seems to be supplying. Top comments from the original post before the update. Comment number 1. I just wanted to say that it takes a lot of courage to confront a situation like this, and your determination to find the truth is admirable. It's not a paranoid position to seek clarity and answers when faced with such a situation. You're taking a thoughtful and cautious approach instead of throwing accusations, and that's a wise decision. Sometimes when emotions are running high, it's essential to gather all the facts before drawing conclusions. And you wanted to collect proof to confront Nick. Possibly changing your relationship forever is very smart. However, you should remember that relationships can go through some rough patches, and it's possible that the situation can be worked out through open communication with each other. I wish you all the best in finding the answers you seek. Comment number 2. Hey Claire, I understand that you're going through something tough, and you might think that keeping your cards to your chest is the best thing to do in this situation, but it's not. I understand that you don't want to reveal the fact that you've discovered the bank statements to your husband until you find enough evidence to go with it, but that might not be the way to go. You should just talk to him. Keeping it away until it's the right moment might only make the bad feelings fester longer. Maybe it's for nothing. I understand your fear of losing him, but if he's actually cheating on you, you've already lost him. Not confronting him about it won't change that. I hope you can realize that, regardless. I hope that this is a big misunderstanding, that he's really no longer in contact with his ex-wife. Update number 1. Hey, it's Claire. Last night I posted about my husband sending money to his ex-wife and then lying about it. I was planning on checking his text for some more concrete proof. I know some of you advised me against it, but I just had to know for sure. I'd genuinely been terrified that he would change his password by the time I got my hands on the phone while he was in the shower, but as it turns out, he has not. I was suspicious and then felt guilty. Maybe he did not have anything to hide. Maybe it was someone else with his ex-wife's name he was sending the money to. Maybe it was purely business. But I had that phone in my hand, so I didn't want to waste such a perfect opportunity. I looked up Stephanie, and there was no result. I felt so relieved. And then I thought that he might have saved her number from another name, or maybe he has another phone, and at this point I knew that I was just being way too paranoid. I didn't have much time, so I opened up every single text chain and gave every single one of them a single glance, and it did not take long for me to get that suspicious chat. I was right, it was under the name Steven. I should have known. The chats were the same, talking about setting up meetings at her house or sometimes somewhere else, and when I heard the shower turn off, I didn't stop. I couldn't have, even if I wanted to, because my tears were flowing freely and my heart felt heavy. My senses were on high alert, so I knew when the door opened and the footsteps stopped when he spied me with his phone. The first thing he said was that he could explain this to me. He knew. I was angry enough to throw the phone at his freshly shaven face, so I put the phone down and clutched my head. He tried to comfort me, and I just swatted his hand off my shoulder like a fly. How dare he try to reassure me when he's the one who has caused me so much pain? He claimed that he was only helping her as a friend, and that meant nothing. He was going over to her house, but it wasn't for something like that. But my tears were falling without an end in sight. I asked him if that wasn't, well, it's not how it looked. Then what was so important that he needs to go to her house to do this behind my back? He tried to explain that it was her mother. She was sick. Well, I asked him if he truly believed he was the only person who could have comforted her if she did not have any friends or other family members, and he didn't have an answer for that. I did not believe him. I don't know what to believe. All I could manage was to throw some clothes into a bag as he begged me to trust him, despite what it looked like. I told him that he had lied to my face multiple times. Now I knew enough. I switched my phone off when it continued to go off as I drove to my parents' house. Even now, I haven't had the audacity to turn it on, fearing that even his name on my screen might make me burst into tears. Update number 2. Hello everyone, it's Claire with another update. It's been 3 days since I ran out of my house to get away from my husband, and all this time Nick had come to my parents' house once, and when they told him to leave, he begged them to convey his dire desire to talk things through with me, but I don't think there's much to talk about. He probably just will lie like all the previous times. When my mother-in-law Helena heard that I've gone to live with my parents, she came over to chit-chat. I was glad for her comfort. She asked what her son had done, which made me laugh because he's usually the more level-headed one in every situation. I revealed that I had found some incriminating things against Nick, and I'm not sure if he's cheating on me or not, but he's definitely lying. Helena was shocked and claimed to have raised Nick better than that. She genuinely could not imagine Nick cheating on me with Stephanie. She revealed that Stephanie was very mentally draining in their relationship, and Nick would never go back to her unless it was absolutely necessary. Their divorce was hard on him because it was necessary. They were lingering negative feelings until he met me. He had not met her even once in the time that we've been together. However, now I had solid proof that he did actually meet her behind my back, as if they knew what they were doing was wrong. Then I showed her the bank statements, and I could tell that she was absolutely shocked. I also told her about the emails that they exchanged 7 months ago and the text under a fake name for the past 6 months. They've been meeting at her house and other places behind my back. Helena was seething with rage when I presented her with all these facts, and I could tell that she wanted to argue with me, but I had the abundant evidence that something was going on that I was not privy to, or maybe Nick is just cheating on me and lying to my face. Helena was angry at Nick and muttered her displeasure with him under her breath as she paced the room. She told me not to worry about it. Now that she knows about it, she'll solve it. And I told her, oh, don't worry, that's not necessary. I would eventually talk to Nick, but the wound is just too fresh right now. Helena claimed that Nick might lie to me, but he would never lie to her, and I realized how correct she was on that. She told me that she would show up to Stephanie's house the next time Nick was going over and catch them in the act. I cried when she said that she would do something like that for me. Honestly, knowing that she's taking my side really boosted my confidence in this entire situation. She urged me to move back with Nick for the time being, and I did. I'm not talking to him, and I made it very, very clear to him of that. Now, I've been keeping an eye out on Nick's messages, which I know is a bit intrusive, right? But I'm genuinely freaking out. Regardless, I feel more in control now that we have a plan. Update number 3. Hey everybody, it's Claire, and I have an absolutely ground-stomping major update. It was yesterday when I saw Stephanie's text calling Nick to her place because she really needs to talk to him. Nick agreed to it, and they were planning to meet on the weekend, and you would have thought that they would stop now that I knew about them, but Nick had only changed her name on his phone and started guarding his phone from me like a hawk. But I still had my ways. I informed Helena about it, and Helena showed up at Stephanie's house just after Nick walked in, and she caught them red-handed. Nick was truly shocked to see her there because as far as he knew, I had not told Helena about anything. Helena asked him what they were doing together and if there was a party. Nick claimed that nothing was happening there and that it wasn't what it looked like, and Helena told him, well, then tell her what it was that was actually I'm looking at. He revealed the same thing that he told me, that Stephanie's mother was sick and he had been providing her emotional support. Helena asked if he remembered how mentally draining she had been during their marriage, and Helena told me that Nick looked quite drained in that moment too. Nick said that he was just trying to be a good human being by being there for her. Helena countered that she could be less concerned with being a good human and more concerned with being a good husband. Stephanie stayed silent. Nick tried to reassure his mother that he would win me over and that he wasn't cheating and that he would eventually prove it. That's when Helena played her trump card. She asked if he wanted to eventually prove that he wasn't cheating on me, he might want to start explaining why he had been sending such large amounts of money to Stephanie. His face went white as a ghost when he realized that I've always known about it, which is why I had not believed him when I knew he was lying. She revealed that I've been giving him time to clean up, but he never did. And now, if our marriage ended, it would be entirely his fault. Well, Nick rushed out after that to come to me, genuinely scared that I would leave him. To reassure me, Helena stayed behind to warn Stephanie to stop meddling with her son. When he came back, he begged me not to leave him, and he swore that he wasn't cheating. He had been meeting with Stephanie because she needed a shoulder to cry on, and he had only been sending her money because her mother needed some due to health issues, and he could not have said no when Stephanie first reached out. I told him that I needed time to accept this. I was convinced that this was the whole truth because, Nick would never lie to Helena, mainly because she could easily see right through his lies. He begged me to give him a chance to do better, and he had not realized the situation was so dire. I told him that I would, but only if he agreed to never go back to Stephanie. Well, he was hesitant, but eventually he agreed. Helena said that she had issued an ultimatum to Nick as well, and Stephanie can get emotional support from her friends or her sister, and Nick wasn't necessary. Nick agreed to it if it meant that he could prevent our marriage from crumbling. Update number 4. Hello everyone, Claire again with another major update. It's been a month since Nick last saw Stephanie, and we've been working on rebuilding our relationship and trust, and I haven't even looked at his phone in all this time because I so desperately wanted to trust him. I trusted him when he said he would not communicate with her in any way. The proof of his statement arrived in the form of Stephanie herself at our door. I opened up the door and was surprised to find her there. She paused and Then she pushed past me as if she owned the place. Outraged, I asked her to leave, but she simply ignored me as she called for Nick. With all the commotion, Nick emerged from our bedroom, and Stephanie's demeanor changed right in front of my eyes when he arrived. She ran towards him, hugged him, and started to cry. Nick's eyes grew wide, but he kept his hands away from her and did not hug her back. Stephanie asked him why he had not been talking to her, ignoring my presence, and Nick pulled her away from himself and stepped back. He told her that he could not help her any longer. Stephanie scoffed at that, pointing at me, and inquired if I was the reason for this decision. Nick agreed, saying he did not want to hurt me and that I was very precious. Stephanie was outraged, and she asked if he would simply stop because he had a suspicious, paranoid wife, and Nick told her to stop and leave. Clarifying that he did not want to see her, Stephanie began to cry at this point. She asked if he did not understand, explaining that she was better for him, surprising the both of us. She claimed to be more understanding and supportive than I am, suggesting that he should leave me for her. Stephanie had been trying to prove it to him for the past 7 months. Well, she added that Nick and she work so well together, didn't he see it? Nick had backed away even further at that and clarified that he did not have any feelings for her and that he had only been helping out as a human being. But Stephanie pressed on and on and on about this non-existent spark between the two in the past 7 months. Nick clearly did not feel that spark. I told Stephanie to go ahead and leave, and, well, she just whirled on me and told me to stay quiet, saying that I had already ruined absolutely everything that she had planned. Outraged, I was about to physically remove her from the house, but Nick beat me to it. He grabbed her arm and pushed her towards the door, all while Stephanie tried to make Nick see that they were meant to be and that they should have never gotten divorced. When she was outside, Nick declared that he loved me and that he had not had feelings for Stephanie for a long time, even before they got divorced, and promptly shut the door in her face. Nick apologized to me while Stephanie continued ringing the bell. In frustration, Nick pulled out the wire for the doorbell, and he admitted that he did not have any idea about Stephanie's feelings. I reassured him that I knew and trusted him, and while Stephanie banged on our front door with her palms, she stopped only after we threatened to call the cops on her. I have hope that our marriage can be rebuilt. I trust Nick again. Not fully, but I'll get there. Nick can, under no delusion, think that helping Stephanie is being a good human now, and I feel confident that we will make our relationship work. Final update. Hey guys, it's Claire again with the last update. It's been another month, and Nick and I are going strong. We've been transparent with each other about our suspicions and our feelings, and I think that we'll make it work. Nick had confided in me that he felt disgusted by Stephanie and that she had genuinely harbored the thought that he would leave me for her. Maybe she didn't even need the money, and had only pretended to need it to spend more time with him and change his mind. He felt used and unsure of things, and I understood where these things were coming from and felt helpless. Stephanie, on the other hand, had shown up at Helena's house 2 weeks ago, asking her to talk to Nick. Maybe she could get to him, saying that she was better for him than I would ever be. Helena had actually called the cops on her when she would not leave her alone. Stephanie had also shown up at our house multiple times, which was quite frightening for me. She looks and sounds so scary. Stephanie has been tormenting some of Nick's old school friends too. It's really bad. Nick and I have been wondering if we should get a restraining order. Maybe then we can focus completely on us instead of being disrupted again and again by Stephanie. Nick just wants to move past this situation, and so do I. This was a very messy situation, and I now understand why Nick had not revealed everything to me. I did not appreciate that he lied, though, but hey, we're working on it. I guess that's it. I'm immensely grateful to everybody who read this and helped me and let me just rant about my problems. I felt seen when I knew you guys were reading this and commenting and seeing what I was going through, so thank you.
Alright guys, let's discuss this one. I was reading the comment section of it, and a lot of people, they were still suspicious of Nick.
They said he was just showing off way too many red flags, and yes, it seems like OP and Nick are still working their relationship out for the more positive side towards the end of the story, but people were just thinking Nick might have got away with something. I want to know your thoughts about it. What do you guys think about the ex, all her involvement? Just drop it down below in our comment section. I know today's story was a wild ride, but I do want to hear your opinion. My name's Mr. Reddito if you guys are new to the channel, and I just hope you enjoyed it. If you want more daily videos, the best way to get it is super simple. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I just want you to remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.